All right, so we have a breaking news here just before Football Sunday. Hey, Football Sunday, that's exciting. But we have something to talk about that's also exciting before that. Dak Prescott with a monster deal. I mean, this is like just a huge deal. Like, forget about, there's always the discussion of like, well, usually top quarterbacks, once you hit the market, get the kind of top quarterback money, even if you're not a top quarterback. This is even more than that. I mean, we just saw Jordan Love and Trevor Lawrence kind of, I don't know, people you could argue the same thing. I think, I've given Prescott some heat in the past. I think he's done more than those two guys have done, but is also older. He gets pretty significantly more. I mean, he gets $60 million a year. Those guys got $55 million a year, but also it's almost entirely guaranteed. All but $9 million is guaranteed, which at that point just make it fully guaranteed. An $80 million signing bonus. I mean, this is a just a massive deal. Again, it's the kind of thing where for someone like Prescott, this is just kind of the dilemma you face, right? As a team in the NFL, is you have to deal with what decision do you make when you get a quarterback like a Dak Prescott, who's, again, like I said, I've given my critiques of him in the past. Specifically, I didn't think his playoff performance last year was great. At the same time, like, listen, the guy was second in MVP voting last year. He's not a bad quarterback, and anyone who thinks that he stinks is just not paying attention. I think it's fair to say throughout the majority of his career has been a good quarterback, but hasn't typically been the elite MVP level quarterback, with the exception of last year. But even last year, you could look at like, okay, it was a weaker competition, and it was just a weak year for MVP voting in general, although he still was very good. It feels like this contract is, they're saying we have an MVP candidate quarterback, which if you feel like you have that guy, go ahead, pay him whatever it takes to keep him. And that's usually the mindset. I don't know if I quite view Prescott in that range personally. I think Prescott's a good quarterback, like I said, but I don't know if he's the top tier guys. So I think a lot of people also will say, well, what's the other argument? Go with Cooper Rush and just have a bad quarterback with basically getting no money, or do you draft a quarterback, but you're not going to get a good draft pick, so do you trade up a bunch to make something happen? And listen, there are ways to make it work, right? I mean, I think the Chiefs are a good example. They had a good quarterback in Alex Smith, decided to upgrade to Patrick Mahomes. It worked out pretty well for them. Obviously, it doesn't always work out that well, but it did in that scenario. So there is things you can do. There is options. But one of the issues with a contract like this is you only get one quarterback. And if you're paying someone like Prescott $60 million a year, he's now getting $15 million more than Patrick Mahomes. The Chiefs are the gold standard. The Chiefs are the team consistently fighting for Super Bowls. If you want to win a Super Bowl, now you have to be, I think, whatever the difference is between Prescott and Mahomes, I'll let you decide. I think there's a significant difference between those two guys. You have to be able to make up that difference with your roster, and you have $15 million less dollars to do it. It's easier to attempt it when you're someone like the 49ers, who have Brock Purdy, who they also have a gap to make up, but they get $60 more million to try and make that up, which is why why those teams played so close in the Super Bowl. But again, the counter argument is, I guess really what it comes down to, the dilemma is, do the Cowboys feel as though they have a better chance at making up that ground even with not as much money, or do they need to just cut bait and go for a different guy? Clearly, they think they have a chance to, if they can draft well, if they can maybe make a good trade here and there, and maybe Prescott gets hot at the right time, then they can make up that ground that way, which has happened, right? I think the Rams with Matt Stafford is a good example of they were able to make up the ground. Stafford also, in my opinion, a good quarterback, maybe not an MVP caliber one, but I still think he's very good. But he played very well in the playoffs, right? So there's always these interesting factors. For me personally, I'm just going to, give my thoughts here. I don't know if I make this deal. It's a bit high for me. And again, it's a shocking number. It really is, because the other guys were just barely getting the most money in the league. He got pretty significantly more than that. A lot of times it's, okay, this guy gets 55.1 million, so I want 55.2 million, right? That's kind of usually how a lot of this goes. So getting 5 million more, and again, almost entirely guaranteed. Now, the guaranteed money is interesting because part of it is where the Cowboys can, just them being the Cowboys, how much money they have can be a bit of a benefit of they can give out the biggest signing bonus in NFL history because they just have more cash laying around. Essentially, other teams can't really do that. Like I don't know if the Raiders even could give someone a contract like this. It's a bit of a. I think they might be buying high on Prescott. I think that's something I have a bit of a concern with because he is coming off of his best season, and they're, I think, paying for. He really needs to be that guy again. Like he needs to be an MVP candidate for this to be a good contract. I think, and it's again possible, right? But I don't know. It's a bit high. But again, I know people will kind of bring up in the comments, well, hey, he's done some good stuff. This is just what quarterbacks go for. But while I agree, this is just what quarterbacks go for, doesn't mean you have to give out that contract. But again, the flip side of the argument is I could think of, there are teams that have let someone walk and not really recovered from it. Like Kirk Cousins is the guy we always say, you can't give him that kind of contract because his teams never go far into playoffs. Well, the teams that he's left have never really done much either. Like Washington struggled without a quarterback for a while. The Vikings don't seem to be in pretty good position this year. In fairness, their young quarterback got hurt, but still, that is the counter argument is with Prescott, you're probably going to be at least a playoff contender. So, these kind of deals, they hurt I think they hurt your ceiling, but do raise your floor. That's usually how I view this stuff. But yeah, again, Prescott's also just one of those guys that I feel like there's just wildly different takes on. I feel like every year, towards the end of the year, we kind of agree. He's like, yeah, like a fringe top 10 quarterback. And then at the beginning of the year, I look at these best quarterback lists, and he's like top 5 all across the board. And I just don't view him as that guy. But again, Clearly, I'm the outlier. Clearly, plenty of people do view him as that guy because they give him, he's now easily the highest paid player in NFL history. So, yeah, I mean, it's a crazy deal. It's just a crazy deal, no doubt about it. And again, just to reiterate, the way everything is worded, this is going to be, unless it's been worded poorly, which I've gotten bit by that in the past, where Ian Rappaport worded a tweet poorly, but I've seen multiple tweets, so I feel pretty confident this is how it is. Prescott will play off the remaining deal, which I believe his cap hit is $60 million this year, and then he will basically have a similar cap hit, probably a backloaded cap hit, the following 4 seasons, and maybe they've structured it so his cap hit's lower this year. It's hard to say, but yeah, a lot of money for Dak Prescott, but could be worse, I suppose. Interesting situation for the Cowboys. But yeah, those are my thoughts on this situation. What are your thoughts? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from y'all. And of course, as always, thanks for watching. Hey, thanks for watching to the end of the video. If you want to check out my movie channel, I have a movie channel. Check that out. The link is in the description below. Jackson Kruger movies. Yeah, some fun stuff there. But again, thanks for watching. I do appreciate it.